After working with creatives for the last 11 years, I've heard one statement more than any other. I hate marketing. I get it. It can be painful trying to figure out how to market your book or movie or comic. When I started podcasting, I had no clue how to do any of it. I was afraid of doing it wrong, looking like an idiot or making a marketing mistake that I could not recover from. It can be paralyzing. Sound familiar? If it does, let me see if I can help you. I got my MBA in marketing, so you don't have to. Sign up for a free session today to talk about your marketing goals and to see if we're a good fit. If nothing else, you'll get some insights that might ease your mind. Go to southgatesmallbusiness.com and sign up for a free session today. Welcome to Alley Chats. I'm your host, Rob Southgate. Alley Chats is a virtual artist alley featuring interviews with artists, filmmakers, podcasters, writers, really any creative person you might find at a pop culture convention. My goal is to help draw attention to cool people and to hopefully help them get some new fans. I want this podcast to raise up these amazing people and to inspire you, the listener, to chase your dreams as well. You can follow Alley Chats on Facebook and join the conversation. I'll add more social media in the future, but for now, that's the best place to interact with me. You can also email me directly if you would like to be a guest or have a guest suggestion. My email is rob@smgpods.com. Today's guest is Matthew Lutton. He's an up-and-coming author hailing from Newport Beach, California. His debut anthology, 10 Drink Minimum, has been met with critical acclaim and has made his way into many horror fans' must-read lists. And he's a guest at the Books and Brews event coming up this August 3rd in Evanston, Illinois. There's a link in the show notes if you want to check it out. Anyway, here's Matthew. Matt, welcome to the show. I'm so thrilled to have you here. We've been talking online, chatting it up. I know we have a love of pancakes. So there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about. Matt, why don't you introduce yourself and give a little background?
How are you guys? My name's Matt. I write mediocre horror books, so a couple people like them from what I've read. No, I've written two books. One's called 10 Drink Minimum, and the other one is called Candy Dish. And I'm working on a third right now, so excited to be on the show, brother.
Yeah, I mean, you said some people like it. I see there are 60 reviews on the one, so 60 people. I mean, and you didn't say your last name. It's Matthew Lutton. Matthew.
It is. I'm sorry. It's like Button. Yeah.
Like Button, yeah. And we're going to push your Lutton in a minute here. So the reason we have Matt on is same as a lot of the people we've had on this month. He is one of the authors you can meet at Books and Brews, which is going to be a Double Clutch Brewing Company in Evanston, Illinois on August 3rd. And I'm telling you, man, I'm really excited to meet you in person. You're a lot of fun. We had fun in our chat. It's going to be great. So let's just jump into this thing. I want to find out some things about you. I'm sure people are interested. What got you started in writing?
I never really thought I'd write. That was mainly, but I did write short stories when I was in like elementary school and throughout high school, just kind of for me. And then I kind of stopped it, did the adult thing where you go to work and put that first. And I was listening to audiobooks on my drive because I drove about an hour each way for work.
Mm-hmm.
And I would listen to Books of Blood, The Haunted by Chuck Palahniuk, all just short stories because I like short stories. Because
yeah, me too.
My attention span is like I can't do it. So and the nice thing about short stories is if one sucks, you just go to the next one. It's not going to last that long. So I would be listening, and then I would kind of think I knew where the story was going, and then it wouldn't go that way, and then I would think, well, I kind of liked my idea better. Oh. And then I was like, all right, well, maybe I can write some stories. And I wrote them, and gave a couple to the people that I work with that were like horror fans, and they were like, these are actually pretty good. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I thought they were blowing smoke. And then enough people encouraged me to, write them. And I just kind of started writing them for my coworkers. And then once you get that bug of people saying, hey, you like it, you're like, all right, well, I'll do it. And I've been writing ever since.
So do you have that one coworker that you're just trying to get that approval? You want to get that reaction out of?
Yeah. Well, anytime that you can get a reaction out of anything, that's
Yeah.
amazing. So
Yeah, you
I
get
think
like a
that's a
junkie over it. I just want to
yeah.
understand that one person that you're like, they never say they actually like it, but I can tell. I'm just waiting for it. Is there
Yeah.
one of them?
Oh yeah. There's it's like the one guy that never laughs. And you're like, I'm gonna get
Yeah.
that dude to smile one day. So
I had a guy that I worked with way back, my first job. I worked at White Castle, right?
oh yeah. All right.
And there was this guy who I'd been in Cub Scouts with, and I never really liked this guy, as a kid. Like,
Yeah.
I ended up working with him again. He was all right. They kept giving us our breaks at the same time. And I figured out that I could make this guy laugh. I had like certain things I could do, and I could get him every time. So I would wait until he'd take a big swig of a Coke, and I'd do it. And like clockwork, once I figured it out, I got him to Coke down his shirt because he would try to close it and it would go out of his nose.
That's
Every day
perfect.
at work, man. That's the coworker I
Yeah.
was talking about.
That's the one you want.
That's
You
right.
know.
And he's also
That's
the
the
one
one.
you don't want to be friends with afterwards, right?
No. No, you just want the reaction. And then you're like, all right, you can go back to work.
Go get fired because you got Coke all over
Yeah.
you from your nose. Okay, so
That guy's still at White Castle, by the way.
I'm
Yeah.
sure. I'm sure, man. I hear he's going to be a shift manager one day.
Okay. Dreams.
So everything you mentioned there was horror. Are you just like a big horror junkie? Is it like, man, give me all of it?
I, ever since I was little, I always like darker stuff. I think boys, especially, like we like dinosaurs because they're
Hmm.
close to monsters. So it's like you either gravitate towards the more darker stuff, or dinosaurs is kind of like, oh, those are cool, and then you go on to other things. But excuse me. Um, yeah, I mean, I always like creatures. I loved makeup, especially.
Mm,
So like, scary stories to tell in the dark. I mean, I think that got us all as kids, those images.
yeah. Oh, the
Yeah.
illustrations in that book are, even as an adult, you look at it, you're like, these are really
Oh,
terrifying.
yeah. No, I mean, there's an amazing documentary on that book where uh the guy, I think his wife was a librarian, and that's kind of how he got it in there. And then ever since then, people have been fighting to keep him in there, and they should be. But yeah, those illustrations, you look at them now and they're horrifying. Yeah.
Oh, that clown, that weird clown,
Oh yeah.
very
Uh,
upsetting, man.
no, but I think horror, though, you can also, it's kind of in everything. I
Yeah,
think a lot of people just don't like to call it horror. But I mean, horror, like, to me, I always say if it makes you uncomfortable, it's horror.
yeah,
It's anything. A divorce can be horror. Cancer is horror. It's what scares you.
yeah, exactly. Well, and like you said, horror is that thing that gets the reaction, which
Yeah.
it's one of the things, and I think because I used to do like comedy stuff, and I would always talk about how horror and comedy were so closely
Oh
related
yeah.
because it's that jump, that burst. That's
Mhm.
what you were after. It didn't matter if you're getting them to laugh, great. If you were getting them to like go, I I never want to see you do that again because it's horrifying. Hey, that's another reaction. I liked it.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I get that. So you mentioned let's stay on that topic for a second. You mentioned a couple of different books, specific books of blood being, Clive Barker and then Chuck Wendig. Uh, who would you say, because you're a short story guy, who are your favorite horror short story authors?
I mean, Clive Barker's tough to beat. Uh,
Tough. Books of Blood
yeah.
is
I mean, that thing is it's so wide genre. It's there's a story in there for everybody.
Yeah.
Um, and then you're reading something so grotesque, but it's beautiful at the same time. So you're like, there's a lot of feelings here. Yeah, indie authors, I would say probably Jay Bauer. I really liked Hidden Corpses. I thought that was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, let's see, there's so many.
Yeah. I know.
Um,
That's why I put you on the spot,
yeah,
man. I wanted to see if
no,
I
it's
could get.
okay. It's only, and what sucks is, I'll be trying to plug everybody, and then later on, I'll be like, oh, I should have mentioned him, but yeah,
Oh, well,
no,
they're
I
going to
just
see you in person at Books and Brews and want to punch you in the
yeah.
face. Like,
So
hey, man,
they can all beat me.
you didn't mention my book.
Yeah. So
So
Jay will buy me a beer at least at this point, so we'll be okay.
that's one. So were you one of those guys when you were younger that like those Stephen King short stories? Like, did that get you Night Shift? Was that one of them that you were like, yeah, man,
So a lot of people are gonna attack me. I like King, but a lot of King stuff, I feel like
doesn't do it
I
for you?
fall I fall asleep to it.
What about his son?
It's
What about Joe Hill's short
I
story stuff?
okay, so I like Joe Hill stuff a lot. And I think Joe is more fast paced. Stephen King is really great. He's descriptive, but at the same time, like I don't need the pizza guy's backstory. Like I get it, but
Right.
like, and some people love that. Like, I'll argue with Lisa all day. She'll be like, "No, it needed to be in there," and I'll be like, "I guess, yeah, no, you needed to know that the pizza guy really, really wanted to go to college, but he didn't need to go to college." And it's like, okay, but yeah, no, but I mean, like Night Shift, All Dark No Stars. There's some great stories in there, but I really liked like the Cape from Joe Hill.
Yeah.
That's just something new. It's I kind of feel like with King, he puts out so much stuff also that you're like, okay, like you you're just pounding it out,
Yeah.
you know. And,
You ever
and he's not
read?
doing cocaine anymore, so it's like the stories aren't as
They're not as fueled as they were.
yeah, not as nightmarish.
The uh the other guy. So I ask that because a lot of times when I do mention this kind of thing, and I ask especially about short stories, King is the one. Hey, that was like an entry point for so many people.
Mhm.
Uh, I went from King to like Robert Bloch. You ever read the Robert Bloch short
Oh yeah,
stories?
yeah. Mhm.
Man, there was one of his short story books had a picture of a kid in the back seat like screaming, and one of the only images from a book that I can say legitimately gave me a nightmare.
Yeah. Hmm.
That alone, that tells you a lot about it. Block stuff was I was always a big fan of
Black
that.
stuff.
So
Oh,
over the
Bentley
years,
Little, Bentley
oh
Little too. Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Oh look, more people are buying you beers.
Yeah,
Uh
see?
so over the years, I mean, since you started reading and finding these people, do you think that horror has changed? Do you think that
Yeah.
it has? Okay.
I think it's grown. It's kind of more respected now. I think back in the day it was kind of that dirty thing. It was really close to porn. It was like they knew people liked it, but you didn't really talk about it. And then if you did like it, it was like, oh, you're one of those guys. It's
Yeah.
kind of like metal. It's you're lumped in. Like if you like one metal band, you're a metalhead. And if you like
Right.
one horror movie, it was like you were either a deviant or you're that horror guy. And it was, but I think now it's kind of like what I was saying. Horror can be anything. I think when people started to like more of the psychological thrillers and ghost stories got really popular again, and I think a lot of short stories get picked up for stuff. So those other mediums help spread it and bring the word. Like Creep Show, Josh Mallerman wrote one of those, and that's one of the best episodes. But again, it just brings you back to his books, and then it's
Right.
people see stuff and they're like, "Oh, I really like this." And you're like, that's a short story, and then they kind of go, "Oh," and it kind of gets them, and it's not called horror right off the bat, which is funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Do
Yeah,
you think that you have a novel in you? Do you think that at some point you're going to attempt a novel, or is it like, no, man, this is my medium?
I never thought I would, but everybody just kept saying, "I want your stuff longer." And
Okay.
what I am terrified of is somebody reading one of my stories and being bored. Like
Sure.
I don't care if you hate the damn thing, as long as you're not bored, I'm okay with it. So a lot of my stuff is very short. A lot of my stories, I think like We the Clay was 3 pages, but at the same time, it was like I didn't want to fill it with just details that I did filler. I didn't want to fill it with filler.
Sure.
And a lot of my readers have told me, I want it to be longer. It's a tease. And I'm like, I don't want to write a book and just fill it with filler. So finally, Lisa kept bugging me and pushing me, and I am about 128 pages into a novel. I won't call it a novel, but I'll call it's a book to me
It's a
because
book. It's a
anything over
book.
100 pages, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a singular story. It is, so it will. That'll probably be out in October, I'm hoping.
Oh, exciting. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
right there, eh, with your philosophy on the short story and like never letting it get boring, moving things along, if you're writing a book, if you're writing a novel, I'm going to call it a novel, sorry. Don't you think that you're not going to make it boring? I mean, you've got that in your DNA.
I mean, it wouldn't be boring to me. That's the
Sure.
problem.
Yeah, but if
Yeah.
it's not
So
boring to you, I mean, maybe Stephen
that's
King
true.
gets totally thrilled by writing about the backstory of the pizza guy. You're not that guy. So when I
That's
pick
true.
up your book, I know I'm not going to get, although wouldn't that be great? I'd love to read the history of the pizza guy written by
The pizza,
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
written by me.
So what's with the pancakes on the cover of your book? There's the pancakes, and then on your headshot, you sitting at a
There's some
table with all the
pancakes.
hedge. Yeah, what's up with the pancakes, man?
I don't know because I hate pancakes. So I don't know. I'm just kidding. No, I
They're the
was
scariest thing to you.
yeah, exactly. They just freak me out. No, I was writing 10 drink minimum, um, and I got about halfway done, and my dad was in the ICU, and he was passing away, and I think we'd been up for God 2 days at that point, and we were just I felt like shit, hadn't eaten, hadn't slept. I was still working at the time, so I would drive in at like 2 in the morning, do my job, and then drive back to the hospital. And the only thing that really made me feel better was just pancakes. Because
Hmm.
I would go to like Denny's at 3 in the morning or IHOP,
Yeah.
and I'd be like, it's just sugar and it's sweet. And I would eat coffee and pancakes and write, and it was like a comfort food. So I kind of put that into the story, just that's all that guy wants. That's all the pancake man lives for. His life is
Pancakes.
at this point, but he's got pancakes. Okay.
All right. You've eaten a lot of pancakes, especially at that
Yeah.
time. I want to hear of those restaurants who's got the best pancakes.
Oh, it's a pancake house I was not a fan of.
Hmm.
Uh, IHOP was pretty good.
Hmm.
Denny's was good, but I recently discovered Cracker Barrel when we
Oh,
went
I've
to
never had the
Virginia.
pancakes there.
So pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie. So right now, Cracker Barrel is the winner. So
All right. We'll have to put up a meme
yeah,
with the
we can
reviews
do
and
a
Cracker
real
Barrel,
poll.
4 stars.
I'll be endorsed hopefully. So
What about those McDonald's pancakes, the hot cakes at McDonald's? You like
those
those?
aren't bad. Those aren't bad.
Especially
Can't
when you get
beat
the butter
McDonald's.
going on them.
Yeah. Hmm.
I understand. I have a love of the pancake too, although now we're gluten free, so it's a little
Oh, that's tough.
trickier. Although you
That's
know what?
tough.
When you find a good gluten free one and it tastes like the real thing, they can be
What's a
dynamite.
good gluten free one though?
Well, we make some
Oh,
that
okay.
are
So
excellent.
yeah.
It's typically in like Mon Pod diner places
Okay.
that they'll go like, oh, my wife's celiac, so we made all this celiac stuff and we're trying, and they'll typically like knock it out of the park on like a pancake, and you'd be like, whoa, you
Crazy.
understand what to do. Yeah, yeah.
You
Are
would
you
think
a are
diner
you a
prices would be like, what?
yeah,
They'd be
right.
like, yeah,
Yeah, they
here's
actually put
large.
wheat in your coffee. Here you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Want more shows like this? We've got a lot more on the Southgate Media Group Patreon page. Some free, some paid. Plus, there's exclusive content for subscribers only. Follow the link in the show notes or look up Southgate Media Group on Patreon and check out the cool stuff we're doing over there. You won't be sorry. On August 3rd, 2024, Books of Horror is presenting Books and Brews at Double Clutch Brewing Company in Evanston, Illinois. There will be over 40 horror authors for a book signing and meetup from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. that day. Meet your favorite authors, discover new authors, meet Books of Horror friends in real life, including the author I'm talking with on this podcast. Oh, and I'll be there too. This is an all-ages event. Food, alcohol, and non-alcoholic beverages will be available. No outside food or drinks will be allowed. Search for Books of Horror presents Books and Brews on Facebook events for more information, or click on the link in the show notes. I hope to see you there. So are you a butter, a syrup guy? What's your favorite syrup?
Oh, yeah.
I want the details, man.
I'm a butter guy, always a butter. You know, I can put butter on anything.
Yeah.
I'm a Paul Dean guy, so butter in this and butter in that, and then syrup. I have I'm one of those guys where you can almost kind of just put a little bit of syrup on there, not smother it. And I'm like that guy that dips the French fry in the packet just a little tiny bit. So I'm a savory kind of guy,
Yeah.
So,
I got you, man. Do you ever go outside? This is the last pancake question. Do you ever go outside of the box and like, today I'm getting banana pancakes. Today I'm getting, do you like do that, or are you like, make it the regular
no.
pancake? I'm going to
I'm a
decorate
red,
this
yeah.
the way I want it.
No, I've seen I remember I went to IHOP and they were like, "Do you want chocolate chips and strawberries and all this stuff?" Like just pancakes. I don't need a birthday clown on my pancakes. I'm good.
Although I think you just scared me again, because a birthday
I was gonna
clown
say,
pancakes, there could be something sinister going on there. The
it's gonna be,
Annabelle of breakfast foods.
yeah, it's gonna happen. You'll see it. It'll be on some menu.
Watch that be your novel right now in the trash. You're like, wait, Annabelle of
Yeah,
breakfast foods. Now all of a sudden the writing starts up. Never boring.
that's gonna be the one that makes it.
Now you mentioned that horror is in everything. Do you think as a writer it's important to cross genres? Do you think it's important to look to like read fantasy novels and read romance and like bring that in, or use elements of it with horror?
I think it can't hurt. Um, I mean, if you're gonna tell stories, it's always good to know other stories. You know, um, a lot of the stuff that I like in fantasy is, like I said, I would call it horror.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a big Forgotten Realms guy, so
Yeah.
Dritz and stuff like that. So if you live in the Underdark and you're worshiping a Spider Queen, and there's all kinds of scary stuff in that book. There's incest, there's cutting off heads, there's sacrificing. It's like that's horror.
Yeah.
It's not fantasy. I mean, it's fantasy horror, but at the same time. And then, I mean, Flowers in the Attic, I would
So
call that
funny.
horror.
It's so funny you mentioned that today, because that popped up on my feed today. Somebody had
Yeah,
all the books and they were like, look what I found. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's a horror series. This person was like, oh,
yeah.
it's a favorite from my childhood. I'm like, really? This weird like incest child abuse book was your childhood favorite?
I didn't
You
know there was like a
sir.
whole series.
Yeah, there's a whole
Also,
series. Isn't that
I just
weird?
found out I did, and like it makes you what you're like. Does every book have to do with incest? And then you're like, oh yeah, no, it does. All right, like that's the theme we're going for. All right.
Well, I mean, I don't think you're gonna do, like, the next one is their wacky trip to a mall. Uh,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
I
like a
think they gotta
Gilligan's
keep
Island
to
episode.
theme.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
So you don't live out near Chicago. I'm in Chicago, so that's why one of the reasons
nice.
I'm doing all this. You're not out
Mhm.
here. Uh, have you ever been to Chicago?
I have. I went to what was it? Oh, now I can't think of the name, but it was at Bob's Bay's. Bob's Bay put it on. Oh, she's gonna kill me.
Uh-oh.
Can't think of it now. I
That's
know.
one less beer you're getting when you're out here.
I'm gonna get beat up at this thing, but yeah, Bob's Bay. It's Jill's bookstore down there. She put it on. It was a convention. I don't know.
All right.
but it
What
was
was the
great.
best food you
I
got when
loved
you were
it.
here?
So I made sure we got a deep dish. I had
No,
I had
this
it
is the
delivered.
important question.
I
You
was
can't
like,
just say that. I need to know where you got it from because this could be the tipping point between friendship and mortal enemy.
okay. Well, so we went to the hot dog place. That was really good. It was Portillo's.
Okay.
So that was
Okay.
good. Yeah,
Passable.
yeah.
Good.
And then the pizza place, it was slim pickings, believe it or not, because we were at the airport.
Oh,
We were
yeah.
staying at the Hilton, and somebody actually, they were smart at least. They were putting underneath the door the menus and stuff.
Uh-huh.
So it was his name. It was just actually Luigi. I didn't think that
Oh,
was a real.
Luigi's.
Okay,
Sure.
so yeah.
Out near the airport. I know where that is.
Okay, cool. And that
When
was
you're
actually
when you're in
pretty good.
Chicago, all these things mean something. You know where they
Yeah,
are. You know what like you can have a visceral like, oh, I know the flavor of that one. That's a good one.
I
So
feel like
yeah,
there's like 40 Luigi's though. So I'm like,
sure. Sure. Yeah, but
yeah.
the one by the airport that would put it under, I even know where they're located over there. So
Okay,
very good. Very
nice.
good. Next time you're here, which is going to be in August, Lou Malnati's is the one I recommend.
It's called
Uh,
Illuminati.
Lou Malnati. His name is
Oh, okay.
Lou
I was
Malnati.
like, that sounds like a secret pizza place. We should go.
Yeah, 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 great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you see an Uno's, Uno's is a chain that's
Okay.
all over. Other than the one in Chicago, the one in Chicago is the original place, right? It's
Gotcha.
amazing. And in fact, let's talk pizza for a second.
Yeah.
Lou was the head chef at Uno's, and he
Okay.
wanted to change the recipe, and they said no, so he left and he started his own thing.
Oh,
I
no
think
way.
Lou's is better, but Uno's is fabulous. But the chain is terrible. Like I
Mm.
would rather eat Pizza Hut. I'm so
Wow.
hungry, I'd rather eat Pizza Hut than
That
eat.
bad.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. It's
Mm.
terrible. That's where I was going to say, if you were like, oh, well, we were out at the mall and I had an Uno's, I was going to be
Yeah,
like, you
no.
know what?
Yeah.
Now you're not only not
Over.
getting beers, but there's going to be a fist fight. So,
So
so,
no Uno. Not doing it.
so
All right.
you said you like the makeup and all that, the
Mhm.
effects, horror movies. What would you say were the touchstone horror movies for you that really lit you up when you were a kid?
Oh man, there's a lot. The Thing really impacted me. I loved
Yeah,
it. I mean,
yeah,
that got me into a whole John Carpenter thing, and then sure that Escape from LA, Escape from New York, went down that rabbit hole. But Creatures, Evil Dead, that was tough to beat right
sure.
there. Practical, I think, is just such an amazing thing. Still, even when they do it now, it's even great. But Evil Dead was great. The Thing, Pumpkinhead, Rawhead Rex, even. I mean,
Yeah.
that was yeah.
The
That's
ones
one
that
reason.
when we were kids, we'd be at the video store, teens or whatever. I don't know how old you are, but you'd go to the video store and they'd have the box. You'd see Rawhead Rex on there, and you'd be like,
Yeah.
"I gotta see this." Whether it was good or not,
Oh yeah. No.
if it delivered on that monster, that's all that mattered.
Yeah. And that's funny because it's like even like Species. I mean, Species. I actually like Species. I think
Me
it's a good
too.
movie. But
Me
but
too.
I remember seeing the alien design. I was like, well, that's Geiger. I was like, I gotta
Right.
just watch it for that.
Actually,
So
the first Species is fantastic.
yeah, the
After
7 other
that,
sequel, maybe
yeah,
not,
after
but
that, they're watchable because it's still
yeah.
Species. But that first one's actually a good movie.
Oh, Wishmaster? That had some great practical effects. Oh my god.
Wishmaster. I think you're the first
Yeah.
person to say that to me in years. That one.
That is a gem, no pun
It
intended.
is.
Yeah, I mean, and especially it's like his voice. I
Yeah.
think I want to say Steven Dorff. Was that his name? Probably. But
He did
that
everything.
guy's
So
voice. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
as you wish. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. I loved all that. Now, when we're talking about horror, I mean, you and I are kind of having a food and horror conversation here. I kind of like this.
They go together,
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Especially if there's a clown on the pancake. Terrifying. I'm
Okay.
still thinking about that. Uh the the genres within horror are another thing. So like I remember when Silence of the Lambs came out, that's a horror
Yeah.
film.
Hmm.
And it was, so popular. And I remember saying it to like my parents went to see it. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you guys went to a horror movie. And they were like, that's not a horror movie. Like, yeah, no, that is. It literally is. And they They didn't think that. Yet, if you say horror movie to them, they would say, "Oh, that's like that Friday the 13th." It's like, yeah, but when I was a kid, you couldn't wait to show me King Kong. Guess what?
Uh-huh.
You know? So it's interesting how there are so many different, like you were talking space horror, like Species, and I'm sure, did you I mean, we all liked Gremlins back then, but like Critters.
Oh yeah.
I remember
Oh
seeing that
yeah.
in the theater.
Yeah.
That was Tremors. That was
You
phenomenal.
want to hear a funny story about
I
Tremors?
do.
I mean, every story about Tremors should be funny, but so I was, God, I don't even know how I must have been 8 years old. And my mom was a huge Reba McEntire fan. And we went to a Reba McEntire concert. And the I remembered for years, anytime Reba McEntire was brought up at her concert, I remember seeing monsters. And my mom kept saying, "What the hell are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Reba McEntire, there were monsters at her concert."
Yeah.
So what I remember when I saw Tremors, it was like everything just clicked into place. Reba McEntire was at her concert, and on the big jumbo screen, she showed everybody the clip of Tremors where her
Yes.
and Bill are shooting and grabbing the guns off the thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was just like, so now Reba McEntire to me is like this. She's right up there with like Elvira. She's like this horror queen. But I
Yeah,
just
man.
remember as a kid, like, no, Reba McEntire kills monsters. And
Yeah.
everyone was just looking at me like, what the hell are you talking about? But yeah, she showed the clip to the audience at the concert. And then like everything. So yeah, that's my funny Reba McEntire.
Her Bill was wasn't that Michael Gross?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, so you've got the Family Ties guy and this country star
That's
and
right.
Kevin Bacon,
Kevin
and
Bacon.
oh my God, and who was his partner? And I used to love this guy. He died quite a while ago, but I can't think of his name. The guy that played Kevin Bacon's partner up on the rock. They were shooting and everything.
Oh, yeah. He was in everything.
Yeah. Oh man, that cast was
It was
unbelievable.
perfect.
Yeah,
Everything
and then
about it.
Michael Gross went on to do like, I mean, he's done like 8 of these now. It's just like, oh, you
Yeah.
got another script? I'll go up and shoot at him.
Yeah. Why not? It's like Dust Till Dawn. We'll just make four of them.
Why not?
Why
Why
not?
not? Even though
Well,
the
good.
first one's the only watchable one. We'll keep watching. I bet I do
I
watch
think
them all,
I
right?
think Bon Jovi was in one.
Really?
I mean, if you can get Bon Jovi on board, why not?
Why not? You know what? The other one that I love is Elijah Wood is a huge horror fan. So he
Yeah.
pops up and stuff, and you're like, I mean, this was Frodo, man.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
It's tough to see him as like a serial killer. You're like, I don't know if I could
No, I
do
could
that.
buy it. I could buy it. Did
You know
you
what? You're right though. It's
he
the nice
does
one. But
he produces movies. He's got a partner and they produce horror
yeah,
films.
yeah. Mhm.
And on Shudder, they have a podcast.
No,
And if you
really.
haven't heard this thing, yeah, they interview horror filmmakers. It's fantastic. And
Oh,
he
cool.
is the biggest horror nerd. Like he goes deep. So like when
Nice.
he was in Maniac, it's because he's like, it might be the best movie ever made. I mean, it's literally he's like that deep on it. It's really cool. So,
He's one
all
of those
right.
guys that's like Keanu Reeves. Like anything he's in, you just want to go see it. You're like, I don't even care what it's about. I'll just support him.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Very cool guys. Keanu needs to lean into his horror stuff. Like he needs to go
Yeah.
full on at some point. He's played with it, kind of like Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage,
Yeah.
he ventures into it. I'm waiting for the one where he's like, okay, I'm just gonna break this, you know?
Yeah. Season of the Witch, I thought was great.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
That was
Nobody
just one
saw
of the
that.
best. No, and it was like the effects are pretty good. The story's actually pretty good. He's great. You got Ron Perlman. Like, come on.
Well, I mean, come on. That
Yeah,
adds a starter no matter what you're doing.
yeah, you're good.
Yeah. So, all right. That was the interview. This was a lot of fun,
Sure.
man. I'm sure I'll talk to you endlessly on the 3rd
Oh
because you're
yeah,
going to be shunned by everybody that you didn't mention.
exactly. Yeah, no,
So I
great.
look forward to meeting you in person on August 3rd.
Me too.
Everybody, it's Books and Brews at Double Clutch Brewing Company in Evanston, Illinois on August 3rd. And Matthew Lutton was with
That's
me
me.
today. Yep. And go to Amazon or his website or wherever and buy his books, and they're short stories. So it's the kind of thing you can have little bite-sized terror, which I love. I'm a huge short story fan. So that's why I was so excited about this. And when you see him, bring him a pancake. He'd appreciate it. It's
I'll
a
eat 'em.
lovely old pancake they bring into you.
Yeah. Bring it.
Bring it. Thanks a lot, Matthew.
Yeah, thank you.
It would really help me out if you would rate and review this show on whatever platform you use to listen to this podcast. Good reviews help others find the show, which ultimately helps the people I've interviewed get more exposure. You can connect with me on social media or via email. All the links are found in the show notes. If you like this show, you'll like other shows from Southgate Media Group as well, such as Read Between the Lines, a podcast featuring insightful interviews with some of the hottest authors out there, or Go Fund This, a podcast where we interview people about their amazing crowdfunding projects. You can find our shows wherever you listen to podcasts, so give them a try. And if you like what you hear, don't forget to rate and review our shows. It really helps other people find them and keep our team inspired. Alley Chats is a production of Southgate Media Group, hosted, produced, and edited by me, Rob Southgate. Thanks again for listening to Alley Chats.